Sunny Side Up podcast is a space to talk openly about the storms in life and tools to get through them. When we speak our truths, although it can be scary, we realize we are not alone. Others come forward and feel seen. Our courage creates brave conversations and a support system starts to align. We realize that we're more alike than different, and sharing is not so scary when light emanates from dark spaces. Hello, Sunny Side Up crew. Welcome back to another episode of Sunny Side Up podcast. Today we have a very special guest that is on with us, and her name is Leslie Andrews. She and I go way back as friends, as colleagues in working out together, and we've done some wellness workshops in the community. And I'm not even kidding when I say we have been thinking about and manifesting and talking about a special episode on perimenopause and menopause for like a full year. And we both knew that divine timing, it would come together right when it was supposed to. And ironically, and this is the way it always works, it is coming out. This episode will be launching in the midst of this amazing holiday guide that we have, that she and I both are a part of, with something called the Graceful Menopause Guide, which you guys, we're going to talk about today. This is like gold. This is like a golden tool. The heavens are singing. This is a tool that all women need. How's that intro, Leslie?
I love it.
So Leslie has been in the health and wellness field, just like myself, for over 20 years. She is a wealth of knowledge, this beautiful soul that's on with us today. She also has magical hands. She is a former massage therapist, which, by the way, little like nudge to you, you've never put your hands on me, and we're going to have to change that. I need a little Leslie love in my life. We both love craniosacral therapy. We're both a lover of that. And Leslie's main objective was therapeutic outcomes. And so when you translate therapeutic outcomes to her current line of work as a health coach, it makes a lot of sense because we are seeking therapeutic outcomes for all women when it comes to hormonal health. So today's episode is all things happy hormones, all things graceful menopause. Leslie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
This is amazing. I'm so happy we finally did it.
Finally. Now, have you been on podcasts before?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
But not yours.
Not mine. Right. I mean, right here and now. So tell us a little bit about you.
About me. So you've done a good job of doing the intro. I have had my own massage practice for 20 years. Loved it. Love helping women and men, feel better and be just more alive and just feel better in their bodies, right? When 2020 happened, I started to shift and thought that I want to find a better way to help people through this transition because massage wasn't quite doing it. So, I started to really focus on getting into the health coaching aspect of this, specifically for perimenopausal and menopausal women. So that's me on the business side. On the personal side, I'm a wife, a mom, a grandma now to a 1-year-old grandson. I've got my fur baby at home, and I just love my family and friends and love that feeling of community and getting out and helping people. And that's it in a nutshell.
Awesome. It's in your bones. It's a part of who you are. And I get that.
It is.
Because I've known that for such a long time about myself. Leslie mentioned fur babies, and I've got my 2 foster dogs in the recording room with me. So if you hear little yip yips or anything, they're in here helping me record today. So I want to just get right down to the nitty gritty. Oftentimes on Sunny Side Up, we do storytelling and we talk a lot about how to navigate the storms. And we're just going to call out a storm right now. We're going to call out the topic of perimenopause and menopause. And there's so much misinformation out there. And then there's also a plethora, a world, an ocean of resources. And I think a lot of times women are just left scratching their heads and they're so confused. So let's start with a definition. Can you kind of take us through some definitions, Leslie? How would you define perimenopause?
Perimenopause is that period before menopause where your periods stop for good. So this is the point where you're starting to notice subtle changes. Might be a disruption in your cycle. Your periods might be a little different. Maybe they're not as frequent as they were, or they're starting to become heavier and you're having them for longer periods of time. The consistency, things like that. It's just a little different. You might be more moody, a little more anxious. Some hot flashes might be starting, sleep disturbances, things like that. That's usually the first things that we start to notice. So that is that, as our body is starting to slow down and end our menstrual cycles, that is that period of perimenopause. When you have gone 12 months consistently without a period, that is menopause. And then you don't 8 months you've not had a period and you're thinking this is menopause, and it might be, but you might get a period at month 9 and you go all the way back to the beginning, right? So you've got to start over again. You're still in perimenopause. So once you have 12 consecutive months with no period, that's menopause. Then you are immediately in postmenopause.
So you have to hit that 12-month mark in order for medically to be considered menopause. Right. So in perimenopause, we dance. We dance in this world of, will I get my period? Will I not? Am I going to be super irritable and crabby? Am I going to have a period? And I'm in that dance right now. I'm 44 years old. And some people would say to me, well, that's too young. And it's not, because the window that I know of, I mean, there's no perfect window, or we're not all the same.
No.
And I started my period at age 10. And so if I started my period at age 10, then by 44, my body's starting to transition, right?
Right.
And every body is different. And so I think what I really want to hammer today and really want to talk about is we don't have to suffer. We don't have to suffer with these symptoms. And we live in a symptomatic world where it's like, well, I am having a heavy period. I'm not having a period. I'm feeling this way. And we go to the doctor and we're given a pill. There's other ways around that, right? So,
well, that's a hot topic.
Yeah, right.
That's a hot topic.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. When a woman comes to you and is experiencing those symptoms, what dialogue do you have with her? What does that conversation look like?
We talk about a lot of things. We're going to talk about what is going on in your world, right? What is happening in your world day to day, from the minute you wake up to the minute you drop back in bed? Like, what does a typical day in your life look like? Because there are all kinds of things that we do unknowingly that we have done our whole lives consistently without issue, that all of a sudden now might become a problem. Right. So we really want to take a look at some of those things. And once we can identify a few hot spots, then I know that there's a couple areas for us to work with that, a couple simple shifts. And this is the thing that I really am so passionate about, especially with perimenopausal women, because if you make those simple shifts early, you can avoid so many of the pitfalls and so much of the pain and frustration that comes along with menopause, because you don't have to feel bad. This whole thing isn't the idea that we have to go through the hot flashes and the hair loss and the moodiness and the night sweats. It's a myth. You don't have to. Now, every body, as you've already said, every single body is different. So what works for one isn't going to work for all, but there are some very basic components that we look at as far as nutrition and exercise, moving your body and mindset and your mealtime, like different lifestyle things, meditations that really help so many things on a very basic level. And I might be jumping ahead a little bit, but we really want to get fine-tuned into that area of what is going on in your world and what small changes we can make to get the biggest change for you.
Okay, so I want to talk about those simple shifts, but I'm going to bring up one, for example, because this just came to me. So coffee, like let's say you're a coffee drinker, whether you are or you're not. And your whole life, your 20s, your 30s, into your 40s, you wake up and you have a cup of coffee and it's no problem. Well, that simple shift, once you start entering perimenopause, could be the one simple shift where you have to replace your coffee with an alternative, because coffee is a stimulant and it creates anxiety, and it also physiologically in the body interacts with hormones.
Yes, it does.
Yes, I'm using coffee as an example. It's not that all of a sudden you can't drink coffee because you have like, a reaction to it. It's really all of a sudden you can't drink coffee because your hormones are shifting and
Right.
there might be a better alternative, right? So I just felt like
Exactly.
that was a good option to bring up.
It was a huge option because so many of my ladies are like, I can't start my day without coffee. I got to have my coffee. So if you're drinking 2 cups of coffee, my advice is, back it down to one, especially if you're a woman who's dealing with hot flashes or who can't sleep through the night, or you're experiencing some anxiety or heart palpitations, things like that. That added caffeine, that stimulant, that is increasing that anxiety in your body. And it really wreaks havoc on your hormones, especially as you're heading into perimenopause and menopause. So it is one of the key things that we look at, that you can't always do what you've always done because your body is transitioning, it's changing. And there's fortunately so many awesome options out there. And I personally gave up coffee during a challenge I was running 2 years ago. So it'll be 2 years in January. It's the 12-day detox that we do. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to give this up. And I did not realize the impact coffee was having on me until I gave it up. And there is a way to shift off of it very gradually so that you don't have all the headaches and the detoxing from it, all those side effects that you get when you get off of coffee. So there is a way to do that. But when I got off of it, I was not as moody. My blood pressure came down, which was another huge thing. There's things that happen in our body. Your blood pressure can kick up and you don't even realize it's happening because that's not something you always feel. And I found that out the hard way. That's a whole different story. I'll tell it if you want me to, but coffee was a big thing for me. Coffee and cocktails. If you've got high blood pressure, those have got to come down.
Sure.
And they also stir up the hot flashes.
Well, and so here's the deal. And I want to talk about some coffee alternatives. I really would love to name some. Here's the deal. We become symptomatic in perimenopause or menopause, and we go to the doctor, and I just feel like this isn't brought up. Like, are you drinking coffee? Are you sleeping well? What does your diet look like? How often are you exercising? And I feel like I want to say it's becoming more of the conversation, but I don't know if it is. And so if it's not a part of the conversation, it needs to be, right?
It does. We need to advocate for our own healthcare with our healthcare practitioners, for sure.
Amen. Amen to that. So tell me some of your favorite coffee alternatives. And I want to share my coffee story too.
My favorite right now is Dandy Blend. It's decaffeinated. Obviously, it's just an easy herbal supplement that you put in liquid of your choice. I put it in with either organic coconut milk or almond milk. And I find the almond milk that only has like 3 ingredients, which you can, unfortunately, the only place I found it so far is on Amazon, but I'll blend that with some cacao, cinnamon, which is also great for blood pressure, a little bit of honey, natural sweetener, and that's raw organic honey. And heat that all up. It's in the morning and before I go to class, and Allie is a fabulous trainer. So she kicks my butt a few times a week. Thank you. But if I'm going to class, then I'll put some collagen peptides in there for an extra boost of protein to give me a little something to work with, because your body's been sleeping all night. So to give yourself that little extra fuel in the morning is just really helpful to get you up and get you going.
Not only do I love that as a coffee alternative, but that's actually my story as well, in terms of the last time I got off coffee. I went about 3 months without coffee, and it was all Dandy Blend that I used. Dandy Blend was my choice because it actually has that richness and it tastes like coffee. Dandy
Yes.
Blend is not an ad or a partner or a sponsor or an affiliate of any way. It's just truly a wonderful coffee alternative. And what Leslie mentioned is those additions that she's talking about. Cacao is so rich in magnesium, and that's a part of this conversation, ladies. Magnesium is essential for this stage in your life, perimenopause, menopause. I mean, magnesium is essential all stages of your life, but adding that cacao is really rich in magnesium. And then the healthy fats, the coconut oil, and even that 3 ingredient creamer or collagen, you're doing yourself a favor by adding those things. My other favorite coffee alternative for those of you out there listening that are like, okay, I'm ready. You know, I've been a little reluctant, but I'm hearing the benefits and I want to do this. It's called Root to Rise, and it's by a local company here in Michigan, and I'll link it. But it's called Root to Rise by IE Kawa, and they source their cacao all from Costa Rica. So it's a really wonderful, reputable, organic, sustainable brand. And so that would be the other one that I really love.
I'll have to try that. I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah, Root to Rise. So,
And there are so many different, really wonderful teas out there that you can do too, that are green teas that are good for you. So we do have a lot of options. You just got to get off the coffee initially.
okay, so what are some of those other simple shifts?
Simple shifts. Not being careful not to have caffeine if you are going to have any caffeine, and this extends to, energy drinks. And it's not just coffee, right? It's the pops and the sodas that we drink and the energy drinks and things like that. If you're having a problem with hot flashes and sleeping, then you're going to want to make sure that you're not drinking those things after like noon. Give your body some time to get rid of it. Simple shifts go on to a lot of what we're putting in our bodies and on our bodies. And that can be a real rabbit hole. There are so many different directions we can take with just that. But when I work with my clients, trying to keep your diet as simple, as close to God put it on this earth as possible is key. We really want to stick with those whole foods. And it's not to say that you can't live your life and have the pizza and have the ice cream and do the things. You just really, once you become aware of how your body responds to some of these things, you're going to want them less and less. But can you have them? Sure, you can have them. We still go out and, if you see me at a restaurant, you may still see me having a glass of wine on occasion, right? I may sneak a French fry now and again, but, for the most part, 80% of the time, you really want to be watching what you're putting in your body and keeping that as whole and natural as possible. Less is more when it comes to the ingredients in our food. If you can't read it, if you can't understand it, if it's 15 letters long, it's a chemically manufactured product that is going to wreak havoc on your system. And that's just mentally, physically, spiritually, the whole bit. It just is not doing us any favors at all. So we really want to be food conscious is probably one of the biggest things that we want to start with.
Well, it is like, I repeat this message every single day in every single way that food is medicine. Food is medicine, and what we put in our bodies matters. So when you look at the big picture, ladies, you can't have a conversation about balancing your hormones without addressing what you're putting in your mouth. You are so right on. And the things we eat, the nutrients, the amino acids, the proteins, the minerals, everything we eat dances. Once again, there's that word dances and plays a role in bone health, in muscle, in balancing all the systems of our body. So if you have one takeaway from today, we have to make these small tweaks to our diets and get those whole foods, those nutrients, those organic ways. It's just critical. It's absolutely critical. The simpler the meal, the better you'll feel. I'm right there with you on that. How do you address hot flashes naturally?
Again, that's going to start a lot with what you're putting in your body. If you are somebody that's drinking a lot of caffeine, or you're eating late in the evening, or you love your sweets, we really want to take a look at some of those triggers. Spicy foods can be a trigger. So if you love spicy foods, you might want to back off on your spicy foods. Wine. A lot of us enjoy a glass of wine or a cocktail. Unfortunately, I used to be able to drink a couple glasses of wine, go to sleep, and sleep like a baby. I can't do it anymore. I can have one, but if I have a second glass of wine and it's after 7 o'clock in the evening, there's a very good chance that I'll wake up in the middle of the night and not be able to go back to sleep or have that hot flush. Or if we go on vacation and I live by the 80-20 rule, and maybe on vacation, I shift a little bit and we start eating things that I don't normally eat. I will immediately start with the hot flushes again. And it's just my body's way of saying, we don't like this. So your body's always talking to you. We just have to learn to listen and pay attention and become aware of, what did I do that brought this on? Like, what did I just have, or how did I eat yesterday that created some of these things that I'm experiencing today, whether it's bloating and inflammation, a hot flash, moodiness. There's something that's called, Dr. Jade Teta talks about this, keeping your heck in check. It's your hunger, energy, and cravings. And if you add to that, he has schmeck. So it's sleep, mood, hunger, energy, and cravings. Those are the five main basic ways that your body's trying to communicate with you as to what's going on. So if you're experiencing a problem with any one of those areas, that your hormones are not happy and something's out of balance.
Can you repeat the doctor's name, please, and repeat the steps again?
Sure. His name is Dr. Jade Teta, Teta. And he started with heck, and I believe he's going with schmeck now, but it's schmeck is sleep, mood, hunger, energy, cravings. Easy way to remember it.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. I don't know how I've never heard of Dr. Jade Teta, but I wrote it down. I appreciate that. And it actually reminds me, obviously, of how important gut health is. For those of you that know me, I'm kind of the gut health queen. And I have the 4 pillars of gut health that we address, which is PIFs. So it's your probiotics and your prebiotics from natural foods. You're eliminating well, no, that's not but you do need to eliminate, you do need to say no to those processed fried foods, which is actually S. So I'm kind of jumping all over here. Stop those processed foods. F is for fiber. We need to get a lot of fiber in our diet in order to eliminate and just keep those channels of elimination open. So gut health is huge in tying into happy hormones and hot flashes. So
yes.
Yeah.
It is so big.
Yeah.
And that is in the Graceful Menopause guide that we're going to talk about later.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about it now. We brought it up twice. What is the Graceful Menopause guide?
The Graceful Menopause guide is something that I put together to just give ladies the basics of how to handle some guidelines as to what kind of foods that we should be focused on, what kind of meal ideas that are going to help, reduce some of the symptoms that we're having, and some of the foods that we've already talked about that you want to limit during menopause and perimenopause. We want to really be aware of those triggers and eliminate them whenever possible. And then we do touch on some of the supplements that you can take that you need to support your body as your body's going in transition and making some of the changes. Making sure that you've got your vitamin D. You touched on it earlier when you talked about your bone health. And that's another thing that it's sneaky. You might feel okay. And when you have a problem and you're experiencing osteopenia or your body's going into osteoporosis, you don't feel it. There's no symptom to it. You go in for a bone density scan. And fortunately, my doctor started me on bone density scans early. And he told me, he says, you're starting to head towards osteopenia. I had no idea. I thought I was doing everything right. So, we still have room to tighten things up and to make sure that we're making the adjustments that we need to, making sure you've got your vitamin D and your leafy greens, and movement is so critical. You've got to have that weight bearing movement. To make sure that we're keeping those bones healthy and strong. So we do talk about some of the top supplements and making sure, again, you're getting your magnesium, right? And a probiotic and a prebiotic is going to help that gut health and make sure that things are running smoothly in your body. So those are some of the top things that we talk about in the Graceful Menopause Guide.
So the Graceful Menopause Guide, I've been privy to the information and I actually have it here on my desktop and it's phenomenal, you guys. It is so well done, Leslie. And did the Graceful Menopause Guide come about because of this holiday guide that we did together, or did you have it before then?
I had it before.
Okay, so it's kind of like one of your gold standards. It's a resource that you use with women.
It is. It
Okay,
is.
awesome. And so, in order for people to get a copy of this Graceful Menopause Guide, we're going to link in the comments. So, for this episode, we're going to give you guys a direct link. You can click it, and when you click it, it will prompt you to a landing page where you can enter your information, and then it just comes right in your inbox, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It is.
Okay, awesome. Take us through, before we move on from the Graceful Menopause Guide, now that people know how to get it, take us through a couple more components of it. What else is in there that are like some nuggets that people need to know about?
Probably the meal prepping ideas, and meal prepping does not have to be difficult, right? We just plan ahead. Planning is key to making sure that you're just making things as simple as possible. And especially in the chillier months of the year, and I know not everybody's, some people are in Florida, but crock pots are my favorite. They are my absolute favorite. I am known as the crock pot queen in my house because it's easy. I can throw things in. If I know I'm going to have a busy morning, I'll throw things in the night before in that crock pot liner. So I just pick the whole thing up, put it in the pot itself, plug and play, and we're good to go. You come home, the house smells amazing. And I love doing soups and stews, and you can do a roast. You can do so many different things in there by just throwing it in, adding your vegetables, and you've got a one pot meal. Anytime that you can prep your meals ahead of time, we talk a little bit about that. In the guide itself, we don't really get into so much of the prepping, but there are some different ideas of simple meals that you can have that give you the nutrition to make sure that you're getting the healthy fats, carbs, and proteins with every meal. And we really want to focus on those complex carbs, right? Not the simple carbs that come from your sugary processed prepackaged foods. The chips and the breads and the pastas and the things like that. Those tend to burn quickly, and then our bodies store that unused energy as fat, and we don't want that. So a bonus to making sure that you're getting those complex carbs and those healthy fats and those lean proteins is going to be not only good for your gut, but it's going to be help those hot flashes and all the other symptoms that you're having, keep them at bay. It's also really good for your skin. Really good for our skin, as well as staying hydrated. And then again, we talk about the foods to limit, our spicy foods and alcohols and added sugars, fried foods. We might love them. They don't love us. They do not love us. So we want to make sure we're staying away from that as well. And there are so many really good things that you can introduce into your diet that are really simple. So if you're making a smoothie, add your chia seeds and your flax seeds and your hemp seeds. It's such an easy way. You can put them in your smoothies, add them to your soups or your salads. It's a really good way to get that extra protein and magnesium and calcium into your body. And I know you have things to say about flax and chia and hemp seeds, Allie.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a lover. I'm a lover and I'm pro hemp seeds and chia seeds. I eat them almost daily. And when
Mm-hmm.
Leslie mentioned the importance of carbs, depending on what decade and era you've lived through, we've gone through the low carb, no carb, whatever. But the reason that carbohydrates are important is obviously energy. But when you eat the
Yes.
right kind of carbohydrate with enough fiber to keep you satiated and filled and feel full, carbs are very essential for mood, serotonin, dopamine. If we're eating only protein and we're not eating those high fiber complex carbs, it's going to affect our mood, and we're going to dip and we're going to fall, and we're going to dip and we're going to fall. So for those of you out there listening that are like, well, no, I notice for myself, I can maintain my weight and I'm healthier when I'm eating predominantly protein. okay, I hear you, but we also have to follow the science and how the body works, right? The anatomy of the body, the physiological ways that the body responds to things. And you do need those complex carbs in the form of berries, in the form of your veggies, in the form of your chia seeds, your hemp seeds. If you're a vegan or a vegetarian, you're going to have to get a little more creative in the ways that you find your protein. Obviously you'll get a lot of fiber from your veggies and your fruits and your chia seeds and your hemp seeds, but meat is all of your amino acids in one. So like if you are eating lean chicken or lean turkey, or if you're a blood type O and you really need that red meat, that's going to give you all of your amino acids. So I think I just wanted to point that out about carbs because as women, I think, we get a little leery of carbs, and it's not carbs you need to be scared of by any way, shape, or form. It's the sugary carbs. It's the high spiking glucose carbs that we need to stay away from. And then the fried foods that Leslie mentioned too, you need to know the why. And for me, and I'd love you to chime in on this, Leslie, for me, the why is that canola oil and seed oils are highly inflammatory to the body, and they're not helping your inflammation response. They're exasperating it. They're making it worse. So, okay, I'm going to eat some fried chicken fingers and French fries, but then I'm going to take some turmeric to counterbalance it. Like, let's cut out the chicken fingers and the fries and take the turmeric
Absolutely.
for our inflammation. Now, like Leslie said, I'm going to go out to dinner with my girlfriends and have a couple fries and a glass of wine every once in a while. Yes, do that, but follow that 80/20. So I just
And if
want
you're trying to
to
lose weight, 90/10.
right. If you're trying to lose weight, 9 to 10. Yeah. 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 So yeah, thank you. Cause that's so important. And I just kind of want to mention the why, because, when people are like, okay, I get it, but what's the why,
Right. And I do try to keep it simple. I have a 12-week program where we really break down and get into the nitty-gritty of everything because there's so much. And as you're starting out, it can be really overwhelming because and that's where a lot of us shoot ourselves in the foot, right? Because we think I want to lose weight, I want to get rid of the hot flashes, I want to do all these things. So I'm gonna start right now, and I'm gonna get rid of my coffee, and I'm gonna not eat sugar, and I'm gonna eat more. I'm going to work out every day. And we have all these grandiose plans for ourselves. And it's too much. It's too overwhelming. And then we're not able to complete it. And then we beat ourselves up. We are so horribly hard on ourselves. We beat ourselves up and think that, oh God, I suck. Like, I can't do this. Like, I'm just not going to be able to pull this off. So that is the advantage of working with yourself or working with a coach like me, and in this 12-week program that I have, like breaking it down into simple, sustainable chunks that you can really step by step start to peel this back because there are so many moving parts. So I think I always try to keep it as simple as possible. But when it comes to fried foods, you're absolutely right. I'm like, don't do the fried foods because yes, there are so many ingredients in there that are just god awful for you. And the biggest complaint that women talk to me about, first and foremost, is energy and feeling bloated and in the weight. So that greasy food that we're eating, anything that comes in the box that you're getting in the internal aisles of the store is just loaded with crap that's making your body feel bad. And as you slowly start to make healthy swaps for some of the foods that you've been consistently eating all your life. And I do not recommend you try to like clean the slate and do it all at one time. I think the best approach is to take it small and simple and to try one shift at a time. So take that one thing and find a healthy swap that you're comfortable with and make that move. Whether it's, give me a healthy swap, Allie. What's your favorite healthy swap?
Oh, well, I have so many, but I love that this came up because just yesterday I bumped into a friend and she and I were chatting about this exact thing. And she said, Allie, I know what to do. I know what
Yes.
the steps are, but I'm not making it a priority. I'm prioritizing everybody else. And as a mom, as a woman, we often do that. So she has this amazing therapist, which thank God she found this therapist that she works with. And she said she was sitting down with her therapist, and her therapist said, okay, what is one unhealthy thing you do? And what is one thing you could replace it with?
Yes.
And blueberries came up. Blueberries. And she said, okay, whenever you want something unhealthy, whenever you're about to indulge in an unhealthy behavior, eat blueberries. So maybe that's, I'm about to go through the drive-thru at McDonald's, blueberries. I'm about to yell at my
I
husband,
love it.
blueberries.
I love it.
And I was like, blueberries, that's the answer. And so, but it keeps it simple. Like, I'll tell you, my negative habit right now, it shifts, is eating late. I get home from work, working out, getting the kids, sports, and it's 9:30. And maybe I make myself a grilled chicken salad and some pita and hummus, but it's still late and it still sits in my belly and I don't sleep well. And so for me, I'm going to think blueberries. So like that's a fun swap. And if she's listening to this episode, of course I'm not going to share her name, but if she's listening to this episode, thank you for that fun inspirational swap, because we keep it simple. Let's keep it simple.
Keep it simple, sister. It's got to be simple.
Yeah, exactly. So that was a fun swap that just came up yesterday. I think the biggest thing, Leslie, is if we can get people to stop eating fast food.
Oh my gosh.
Fast
Yes.
food is not real food. And so for all the mamas out there that you have young kids and you think you have to go through the Burger King drive-through or the McDonald's drive-through or Taco Bell is quick, it is not worth it. And this is not to shame you, but they're, crack pot, grab hummus and veggies as you run out the door, grab almonds, grab Orgain plant-based protein shakes, grab anything you possibly can besides fast food, because your gut is getting wrecked, your hormones are getting unbalanced, your mood is being affected, and your kids are ultimately going to thank you for it in the long run.
Well, we lead by example, right? And if they grow up like going through the drive-through, then we're teaching them that this is the way we do this. But if we can educate even our children early as to the importance of what they're putting in their body, they're going to perform better at school. They're going to perform better on their sports. They're going to feel better. There's a lot. And again, this is one of those rabbit holes where a lot of the dyes that they're putting in food lead to ADHD and behavioral issues in our kids. So it's really a win-win for everybody in the family. And a fun story, one of the clients that I worked with, she was a busy mama. She had a new puppy. She had a couple young boys. Her husband was working and traveling, and she was trying to juggle it all. She'd get up early in the morning. She still was committed to her workout, and she wanted to get everything done. But she would get in the shower after she got the boys off to school and walk the dog and get in the shower. And she said, I felt like I was going to pass out in the shower. Well, we talked about what she was having for breakfast and what she was feeding her body. And I was like, oh, okay. And a lot of what the family was eating was nutrient deficient. So her body had literally nothing to go on. You can't get a frozen waffle or something like that and eat it in the morning. Does it make you feel full in the moment? It does, but it burns up really quickly. And then ultimately there's no nutrient value there. So not only did we make some strides with her husband actually ended up losing like 30 pounds during this process, just because they cleaned up their diet and got some of the fast food and processed foods out of there. But it was that one, like you said, just that one simple thing. And her boys, her boys were doing so much better. And the behavioral changes in them were incredible. So it starts with us as moms, because we tend to be, not every family, but we tend to be the epicenter of our family. And everything spins around mom. So when mom makes a change, the whole family benefits. And it's a beautiful thing. It's so fun to watch.
Absolutely. No, that's such a great point. And I want to make sure, because it's come up a couple of times, how do people sign up for your 12-week detox? How do they get involved in your program?
The 12-day detox, I will be putting a link up for.
Well, 12 days, not 12 weeks, 12 days.
I have a 12-week program too.
Okay.
That they can schedule a consultation with me anytime to see if that's a good fit. But the 12-day detox is going to be coming up. I'll be starting that January 6th, and I'll have to get you the link for that. And that's just going to be signing up, and I'll be posting on Instagram and on social as well for that.
All right. So we'll link everything. We'll link everything
Yes.
in the comments where they can find the Graceful Menopause Guide, where they can
Mhm.
sign up for the 12-day detox. And then the link to all of Leslie's things.
My advice is if you have not done the basic things with your health and cleaning up your diet and kicking the caffeine and moving your body and making sure that you're addressing sleep and stress, I have to tell you, is another huge one. Huge, because we'll get back to that in a minute. But if you have not addressed those areas, I would start there first. So for me, and every single one of us is different, and some women need more. Some of us need more. There are underlying conditions. It might be thyroid, it might be PCOS, there might be other things going on with you. But if it's a woman coming to me, I'm going to say, let's start with the basics and make sure you're cleaning that up first, because anything else is just going to be a Band-Aid.
If you sign up for Leslie's 12-day detox or her 12-week program, or if you would like to come into the fold also of the Cleanse Club, which the Cleanse Club is an opportunity for you to learn about the benefits of cleansing seasonally. And I'll link that as well. That's something that I host and that Leslie was a part of. And that is about opening up those channels of elimination. There's all these things that we can be doing.
So many things. So
So,
many healthy options.
yes, yeah,
Natural
yeah.
options.
So, to kind of wrap up this episode, when you thought about doing a special episode on menopause and perimenopause, like, what do you think? I know we've talked about a lot of information and some really great nuggets, but what is something that's on your heart, in your toolbox, a way that you've navigated the storms, something we haven't talked about that you would like to share?
The inner work, as wives, as moms, as friends and daughters, and all the roles and all the hats that we wear as women, we are forever putting everybody else's needs in front of our own. And as we get to this age, maybe our kids are getting a little bit older, but we kind of get lost in the shuffle of life. So so many women that I talk to they've kind of lost their identity. They don't know who they are without the title that life gives them. So who are we without all of our titles, without all of our hats? Like, who are we at the core of it? And how do we find ourselves again? And that really goes to some deep inner work and love. And I find that, and I work with my clients on this by going in and doing some meditation and some gratitude journaling and just really getting clear on and getting down to the basics, the root of, and, reintroducing yourself, getting to know that person that you started off as before you had all the roles and responsibilities that life has thrown at us. And they're beautiful roles. I wouldn't have it any other way, but we really need to learn to prioritize ourselves and put ourselves at the top of the heap, or we're not going to be able to care for our loved ones moving forward. And as we get older, we end up in that sandwich generation, right? Where we've still got the kids on one side, but we've got our parents on the other, and everybody's needing us. So we are that pillar, but we have to be strong in that. And we have to learn to take care of ourselves. And that comes from making yourself a priority, making your health a priority, and taking that lead and leading by example. Your children are watching. So I think that can be very powerful for them.
Amen. So important to do the inner work, and it's free.
Yes.
And what I say by free is, like, oftentimes in my line of work, we talk about, supplements and medical intervention or things like that. And there's so many free resources that would really be our answer. Our time on our yoga mat, our prayer, our meditation, our getting sunlight, our going outside for 15 minutes every day, getting back to nature, a simple shift, having family dinners with home cooked whole meals, teaching, what you teach your children. Like, amen. It's so true. And it reduces stress. Like that big S word that we talked about.
Breathing exercises are probably the best for that. When we're finding that we're triggered by something, just to take that deep cleansing breath, and let it go, just focusing on your breathing. And even if it's not a trigger, and you just take those quiet minutes, 5 minutes in the morning, just to be still and be quiet with your own, with yourself, and just quiet your mind. We're so constantly inundated with information coming at us all day, every day, that just shut that down for just a few minutes is very healing and very therapeutic, and definitely helps break that stress cycle. Because that's the one thing we didn't talk about, the cortisol and the insulin, but you already know those are two key hormone players too, that impact that stubborn belly fat that we get. So when we can learn to manage that stress and bring our levels down, that helps the cortisol come down. The insulin resistance isn't quite so high, and we do so much better.
Yes, thank you for mentioning that. Right. We haven't even brought up cortisol or insulin and those poor adrenals.
Oh my gosh.
Those adrenals that take the brunt of it, right?
Yes, they're working so hard.
They're working so hard, and we need to do them a favor. That breath work, that walking, that whatever you can to manage your stress. And if that means grabbing a journal, and that's your first step today, ladies, getting a journal and recognizing how you feel in your body and how it feels to rehydrate and how it feels to move.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah, please. I want you to say all the things.
All the things. Fun fact, your mind cannot process stress and gratitude at the same time. Like anxiety and gratitude cannot exist in the same space. So if you're starting and ending your day with gratitude in your journal, like Allie mentioned, and you're truly in that state of being truly grateful for the things that you're writing down, anxiety cannot exist in that space. So the more we spin on being grateful and stay in that frame of mind, the more that stress response is going to stay at bay. And remember that your body will believe whatever your mind tells it. So if you are thinking that, you're strong and healthy and well, and you're feeding your body all the good things, then your body's going to respond in kind. But if we're constantly feeding ourselves negative emotions, then we respond to that as well. So just keep in mind and keep it simple that your body will believe whatever it is that our mind tells it, because I think that is so, so important. So you are beautiful and powerful and special and worthy, and we can do all the things. And we just need to remind ourselves of that daily.
Oh, so true. The issues are in the tissues.
Oh my goodness. Yep, they sure are.
The issues are in the tissues, and we got to work them out, which is
favorite thing for many years.
One of them, obviously, but yes, how we speak to ourselves. Our cells remember. Yeah. That's so true. Actually, this is the perfect opportunity for me to thank a sponsor. If it's okay, I want to thank a sponsor. And we talk about stress. And this supporter of the show actually helps us manage stress by getting us organized. And when I think about what my pantry looked like or what my closet looked like, I loved that Heather Kinder, the founder and creator of Creating Harmony Co., is the name of her company, Creating Harmony Co. She came in and helped me determine what I need and what I didn't, how to simplify, how to de-stress in my home. She does live in Pawleys Island, South Carolina. And so she just happened to be in Michigan and I had her over, but she will travel. She will do virtual consults. She'll do Zoom. So you can go to creatingharmonyco.com. And she has been a longtime supporter of the show and a good friend of mine. So I think, just getting organized, these simple things that we can do to de-stress are all helpful. So thank you for letting me give a thank you to the sponsor, Leslie. And as we wrap up and say goodbye, I really hope and pray that this message is received by so many women. Let's share this episode. You guys, if you just listen to this episode, think of 3 women in your life that you could share it with that need this message. And just so you know, too, each person that listens is going to have their own takeaway, right? We'll receive this information in different ways. So share it. Just know that by doing so, you are creating a healthier world. Leslie, thank you for being here and sharing
Thank you for having me.
Your vibe, your everything that you do in this world. We are going to link the 12-day detox, the 12-week program, and the gold mine of information, the the Graceful Menopause Guide. Is there anything else that you would like to share in closing? Anything that's on your heart? And you can even pause, put your hand on your heart for a moment just to think of what that might be. Just anything in closing.
We are capable of so much, and just to not shortchange yourselves and to really, again, make yourselves a priority, to put yourself at the top of the list and take those few minutes for yourself, whether it's a bath, or scheduling that massage or taking that walk, like you said, just taking that quiet few minutes. I think that is just so important to find and to have that sense of self and know that you're important. And, we want to be able to take care of ourselves, to be there for our families as the years go on. So it really is coming down to self-love and self-care.
Love that. Well, thank you so much for being on Sunny Side Up podcast. I can't wait for this episode to reach hands of women all over the world. So thank you.
Me too. Thank you.
Yes.
So
Appreciate it.
fun.